Well, all right. Got my parts in today. This input-output jack is for another project of mine I'm going to be doing. Push-pull wire. I got two of these three-way switches for like a Les Paul. 033 orange caps. Interesting thing there. See, it's got the shrink wrap that comes with it. Shrink tubing, whatever you want to call that, and put that on that wire to help with the noise. And these here are for the glitter guitar. Another ongoing project. That's for the fretboard markers. So I was glad that came in early today. So I'll be getting on this stuff. There's the flaming Tele. I don't know what to call that, but pretty neat little guitar. Yeah, I started wiring this up before I turned the camera on. Sorry about that. I got the three-way switch in already. It's up here. It's all wired up. Not always, but I started there today on that one, on the three-way, and then worked my way down through the body here. So now what I'm doing is I got the power wire from the input jack. From the input jack, you always go to your center lug for your output, input, what I want to call it. That's your power side of your jack. And there's a wire that runs from it all the way up to the three-way switch. And it's important that you get a power run to your switch too, because that's how you switch your pickups around. So what I ordered for it, what I'll do with it, in here somewhere. We've got these orange drops. These are 033s. Say made in the USA right there. I don't know how everybody pronounces it different. Orange drop. And so they come in pairs, so I just went ahead and got them that way. So I'll use it probably on another thing. What I liked was they gave you some insulation for that, and what you do is you just cut it to size, of course, and then that slides on there like that. That insulates that wire, so it's just not bare wire hanging there. Kind of a cool idea. So now what I'm going to do is, if you watched one of my other videos about wiring stuff up, on your volume pots, all volume pots, you gotta ground them. So like this is a CTS pot, 525K pot here, and so the legs on them are usually long enough you can bend it over and touch that. But what I'm going to do is I'll take this orange drop, I bend that, see I bent it, and then we'll put that in that eyelet there on top of the pot. There we go. So now that'll come up on top of that pot like that. But before I solder it into place, I'm going to pull it back off of there and put some of that insulation on it. So it hides this here. Then we'll solder point it here. I'll probably bend that leg over some more again. And then solder on top of that pot. And that will create a nice ground here for that leg there. And then the other wire coming off with a tone capacitor. will go to the center lug of the tone pot. So let's measure this off, how much we need here. Here, I'll show you. Scooch that up there. And you kind of guesstimate how far you might need to cut it back. There. Looking for my scissors. Cut it off there. Easier said than done. Slide that back on there. Slide that up into place. Bring that back around. Put that in the hole of the eyelet down there. Slide that up on top of your volume pot. I'm going to go ahead and bend that leg over just a little bit. Like that. Now we're going to take some solder and solder that down. So what I'm going to do right now is solder that onto that eyelet right there. And then now I'm going to solder, put a drop of solder on the pot, on that wire. Sort of like that. And if you think you got too much hanging out there on the end, I usually just take and snip it off. There's no need to have it out there, have too much wire on your stuff. Like that. Now you're going to do the same thing on this other leg. Take that piece of wire that you had, or that leftover piece of shrink tubing. So we're going to slide that up on that other leg. If you ever get a chance, it's at the store or wherever. I think you can get these at Walmart even. They're called hemostats. Really, really handy for holding small wires and stuff. It also acts as a heat sink too when you're doing soldering. When I used to build amps and stuff, guitar amps, I used to use these quite often. Use them all the time in guitar work. How I got these is I used to also be a printing press operator, and they come in handy for holding cotton pads and stuff, so you can get in between ink rollers and things and clean them up. Back cylinders on printing presses. They do make them in different sizes. I just always use these smaller ones. Just pull that up, keeping that insulation out of the way. So I pull that up there. until I get it to where I want it. Sometimes easier said than done. I do have a jig I made some time ago so I can wire these up on the outside of the guitar. But I don't remember what I did with it. It's the same thing. Now you're going to solder that on to that leg. Just like that. And if you notice, I don't spend a whole lot of time on heating it up. I have my soldering iron set at this time a 745 heat range, and that's plenty hot enough and to do quick work. And the object is, when you're soldering on your pots and stuff, is not to put a whole lot of heat on them, because what happens if you put too much heat on them, then you take the chance of burning the traces off inside the pot. So let's see if we can turn that so it looks a little more presentable. There we go. So that way when anybody opens this up, they can see what I put in there. So I imagine this guitar will be around long after I'm gone. And someday somebody may open that up and want to see what was done to this guitar. So now they can see that's a old 33 cap in there. So now I'll try to remember what I was doing here. This is my ground wire. The ground wire runs from the input jack, goes all the way up to the switch. So what I got to do is I'm going to have to cut this off and join this ground wire somewhere in here. And what I got to do first, before I do any of that, is I got to run a wire that runs from here across to here, because you got to join these two together to get them to work together. So I thought I had another little piece of wire sitting here somewhere. Yeah, I guess I'll use that. Somewhere around here. So same thing, I'm going to just push this wire back, put it into that lug right there. What I'm going to do is bend that lug outwards more. Now the tone pot is a different brand. It's not a CTS. I forget what it is. It's USA brand is what it says on there. So I don't know what that means. I've used this pot is the last of these 250K pots, and they've always been really good pots, so I shouldn't have any issues out of it. So anyway, take and solder that on. If you can keep your wire in place. Just like that. Now pushback wire is really cool to work with. I wish I'd have known about it years ago. And again, this kind of wire that I use is pre-soldered. Push that back. If you look right there on that tip there, that wire's all soldered together. So what makes that nice is it doesn't fray on you when you're trying to work with it. Otherwise, if you have wire, you can buy this without the pre-soldered wire in it, but it frays on you. So you have to tin your wire before you go sticking it in things or through things or whatever you want to do that. Same thing, I use these hemostats. Get that into position there. And solder that on. Like I said, I like to take and cut off any excess wire. There's no need to have all these strands of wire hanging around. So these wires here are all ground wires. This one goes to the switch, and these go to pickups. The noiseless one has 2 ground wires coming off of it. And then you've got one from the bridge. Yeah, that's what that is. This is the one off the bridge. This is off of the pickups. Or this, well, it doesn't matter. One of them comes from the bridge. The other 2 will go to the pickups. Actually, 3 of these go to the pickups. So now what I'm going to do those, I'm going to wait on these. I'm going to figure this wire out here. This is the ground wire coming from the input-output jack. So now I got to tie these together. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way to do that. Do I want to do it up here or do I want to do it back here? I think I'm going to run this just like that. Come back here and come off the back. Now, there are some people will say you should run them off, your ground wires off the front, but you know, you're going to run another ground wire from here to here, so I don't see the need of putting them all on the volume pot. And it's a way I've been doing it for a long time and never really had any issues that I can remember from doing it this way. So we're going to snip this off here, here. And that gives us that wire. So now what I'm going to do though, I'm going to push these back. Push both those back. Try and twist them together a little bit. My hemostats, hold them together. And so now what I'm going to do is solder those together. Like that. When soldering, if you just watch what I just did, you always want to feed your solder into your work. Rare occasions I put a little blob on the end of the soldering iron tip. Try not to touch it. I'll put a little blob there sometimes if I can't get the solder wire in place. But for the most part, you want to take and always feed it. It's kind of basically like welding. If you've done any welding, it's basically the same technique. And at least that's the way I look at it anyway. So I stayed on that one a little bit longer than I like to. Sometimes you need 4 hands to do stuff. But anyway, it's on there. I always like to test to make sure that things are in place. So now, if you see here, I don't know if you can see this on camera or not. See, this wire is not soldered. It's not pre-soldered. So what I gotta do now is I gotta come in here and tin all this wire. I gotta strip this one back. This is all plastic insulation. Need to cut this one down, which I'll probably do right now. I'm gonna go ahead and solder those together. In the process of doing it this way, it'll also tin that wire. Just like that. Yep. You just want to make them look a little better. You can twist them together. That's what I'm going to do right here. So they're not flapping all in the wind here. So since that's not quite long enough to reach all the way down to the other pot, we're going to have to solder that to the volume pot here. All right, so now all we got to do is run the ground wire between the 2 pots. We had a really bad storm come through here last night, lightning and just going all over the place out here last night. Broke some huge tree limbs off our trees out back. Just had to go out and help the wife move some of that out of the driveway. Memorial weekend, we've got some people coming in, family mainly, coming in for the weekend. Also, to one of my family members, I sold one of my guitars to, or not, actually he's going to buy 2 of them off of me. So I just got those set up for him the way he wants them. There's a couple of my builds that I did. One is my rendition of an ES335. I sold it. It's be my last semi-hollow bodied guitar that I own. And I sold him my cherry and maple Les Paul that I made neck through. It has a custom set of pickups in it. They were custom made for me for that guitar. I say custom, but I still didn't get them quite the way I wanted them. But they sound okay. Guy that made them for me is out of Nashville. I won't divulge his name or nothing. And then I had a falling out, so I'll no longer support him or mention his name or his website. I know I'll never be ordering pickups from him again. You know, I don't mind people making stuff and customize, you know, using the word custom on them and all that stuff, because they are custom made. But another thing I don't like is when these same people won't back up their work. And he made me a set of Tele pickups that went awry. He never offered to try to fix them or have me send them back, even though I asked him to. And he hemmed all around it and was trying to tell me how to fix them. And I thought, you know, I paid you $160 for these pickups. I think you need to fix them. So I let it go. I wound up buying some Fender pickups to put in that guitar. So I ate the $160. And so anyway, it was a long time since I ordered some other pickups off of him. Last set I ordered is a set of P90s, and really I don't see where they sound any better than some of the other ones I bought. I paid a lot more for these. And granted, this guy, he's made pickups for a lot of years. So does a lot of work for a lot of different people. But anyway, he's in the past now. That's one thing I can say. If people want to be mean to me, then I won't have much to do with you. So anyway, all right, it looks like we got her. Now it'll just be for testing it out and see if it all works. Then I'm going to change the tuners on it and put it all together. And after you put tuners on it, put strings on it. See how good she flies. Anyway, that's how I do my wiring. Doesn't matter if it's for Tele or humbuckers or what, you know. I mean, there's not a whole lot to do actually. It's once you kind of get the idea down. Now, if you want to split them and all that, you want to put push poles in, it gets a little more involved. But this is basically how I do all my guitars. Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's a Strat, Tele, or a Les Paul style. In other words, dual humbucker, single humbucker, dual single coils, triple coils, whatever it is. According to your switch, you just got to know what switch you're using and how to wire it up. You know, I've done so many of these now. I no longer have to refer to a piece of paper to tell me how to do them. But the main thing on any of it is getting your solder joints where they're good. And I've seen a lot of guys build these things, and I see cold solder joints all the time, and not a good idea. Alrighty, y'all. I'll talk at you later.